The bone-chilling screams of people plummeting to their deaths echoed through the air as Jin's team stood on the platform, waiting for their turn. Each of them couldn't help but imagine it. The sickening drop, bodies bursting like overripe fruit on impact, flesh and bone scattering across the ground. Horrific images flashed through their minds. A cold, unfeeling cleanup crew scrubbing them off the floor, erasing them as if they'd never even existed. The scene felt disturbingly real, and no one could push it out of their head. The cold, detached voice of the host snapped them out of their trance. He pulled a ball with their team number and it hit them. They were about to go head-to-head in a life-or-death showdown against another team, strong and confident. A heavy silence hung over both sides, every step feeling like they were inching toward their last moments. No one spoke except for an old man named Jisoo, muttering under his breath about how he used to win this game all the time as a kid. Nobody cared to listen. They were all dead certain that winning was out of the question. As they stepped onto the platform, Jisoo insisted they stand in a staggered formation. "This way we'll balance the weight and stay steady," he said with a calm certainty that somehow felt scarier than any shout. Following his lead, they took their spots, hearts pounding like they were ready to burst. They stood on the edge of a drop that no one ever came back from. The host raised his hand, ready to give the signal. The tension was building, and with every heartbeat it felt like the ground was slipping out from under their feet. Everything could end in a single moment. The gunshot echoed. The game had begun. Their opponents yanked the rope with everything they had, showing off their raw power. The rope went taut, vibrating with insane force, their hands shaking, palms burning. Jin could feel the edge getting closer, his heart freezing in his chest. The opposing team was relentlessly pulling them inch by inch closer to the brink. One of the guys on Jin's team shouted, "Lean back! I mean it! Get your belly button pointing at the damn ceiling!" Jin, along with the others, leaned back so far he could see the ceiling above, and suddenly he felt their stance grow steadier. The rope stretched tight like a drawn bowstring, but resisting the pull became easier. Amazingly, it was actually working. Their opponents hesitated, baffled and rattled, unable to understand why it was suddenly so much harder to pull their rivals toward the edge. What the hell is going on? They were probably thinking. Deep down, Jisoo recalled his childhood and allowed himself the faintest smile. "Pull!" one of Jin's teammates shouted, and they all started pulling with every last ounce of strength they had. The rope shook, muscles screamed, but their opponents were still stronger, inch by inch overpowering them. Death was creeping closer again, step by step, like a shadow at their backs. Their grip was slipping, their stance faltering, and Jin could feel their team being dragged closer to the edge. At that moment, one of the teammates remembered the old man's words about the final tactic. In that critical second when the opponent feels sure of victory and is pulling with all their might, the whole team should take 3 sudden, sharp, unexpected steps forward. 3 steps toward the deadly edge. The guy shouted, "Let's do what the old man said. On the count of 3, we take 3 steps forward." A woman on the team, weak and exhausted, cried out, "This is insane. I don't want to die." "We have to do this," the guy shouted back, struggling to keep his grip on the rope. His heartbeat pounding like a drum drowned everything else out. 1. Jin felt his legs shaking from both adrenaline and fear. 2. The guys tightened their grip on the rope, realizing this move could very well be their last. 3. The whole team took 3 powerful steps forward. Jin lost his balance for a moment, teetering on the very edge of the platform. Chaotic thoughts flashed through his mind. This is it. They'll be scraping me off the ground like a dropped slab of raw meat. But in that moment, their opponents, stunned by the unexpected move, started dropping to the ground one after another like dominoes, losing their balance. They flailed and stumbled, limbs tangled and grasping at the air, each one dragging the next down in a clumsy, desperate mess. A guy on Jin's team shouted, "Pull! This is our chance!" They all pulled the rope back in unison. To their amazement, the opposing team, made up of strong, burly guys, started sliding across the floor, like slabs of meat on a greased skillet. This instantly filled Jin's team with confidence. They gripped the rope even tighter, digging their feet into the ground as they pushed back step by step. The opposing team was sliding uncontrollably toward their doom. It was as if death herself was waiting in line below, ready to claim each one of them. One more second and it would all be over. "One last pull! Harder!" someone shouted from Jin's team. With desperate screams, the opponents started tumbling over the edge like soulless carcasses. It was like watching a conveyor belt at a meat processing plant, coldly dumping slabs of flesh into a vat for further grinding. The dull thuds of bodies slamming into the ground echoed as Jin's team lay on the platform, grateful to Jisoo for the wisdom he had shared with them.